You're listening to the Holistic Interior Design Podcast. This is a podcast that guides you as a new or inspiring independent interior designer navigating your entrepreneurial path. Here, with my over 20 years experience, I will share my holistic approach to design with intention and ancient practices, including Feng Shui, all incorporating mind, body, and spirit into my design projects. You will also learn from seasoned interior designers as they give strategies and insight of how they built their businesses and continue to work in the field. Together, we will discover supportive trade partners, new ideas, creatives, and inspiring artists from around the world. I am your host, Rachel Larraine Crawford. Alrighty, welcome back to the Holistic Interior Design Podcast. I'm super excited. I've got Masha Koyen on it today. We are talking about emotion-infused branding and why it's so important. And of course, this month's theme is all about connecting with the heart center and our emotions in the month of February. And we've got a beautiful workshop coming up with her as well. Before we get started, welcome in. I'm so excited to have you.
Thanks so much, Rachel. Thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So my name is Masha Koyen, and I'm a messaging strategist and a website copywriter for interior design industry. And I essentially write website copy for design industry.
I love it. I love that you have like this niche. You're connected with us. You know our business, our industry. It's an honor to have you on with us.
Thank you so much.
Of course. So before I get started, I'm going to go ahead and just light our candle, setting the intention of connection with you, just receiving your wisdom and insight that all of us interior designers are needing, not just the new designers, but seasoned designers as well. We can always use a refresh, a reconnection with what we're putting out there and just being really intentional. And I'm also going to pull us a card just to kind of see what we might need to know for today, connecting with our energy. And we have the Death card, which is all about transformation. This is amazing. So, yeah, so I'm stoked about this because you coming in is going to give transformation to interior designers' websites, how they're looking at things. It's kind of putting aside the old way of doing things, the old way of being, and you're coming in with some magical rebirth energy. So stoked about that.
What a way to start.
Yeah, I know we've got like the butterfly here, there's mushrooms growing, there's all kinds of fabulous things happening. Yeah, this is super cool. So I always start by asking the question of what is home? What is home for you? It could be the idea, the physical home.
It's funny because I always ask that question when I do client interviews with my clients because it's so important to get their idea because it just helps me write. But to me, home is love, family, comfort. It's kind of like a judgment-free zone. It's not to get too woo-woo about it, but the home is, I guess it's the one place that really nurtures your soul. And that's what it is. Oftentimes it is about my people. It's about my kids, my husband, but it is that place where you're just comfortable and where you can just let your guard down.
Yeah, it's so true. Yeah, our homes are so personal and sacred. And it's like when you invite somebody in there, you're like, they are coming into your soul. It's like you don't just let anybody in there. Yeah, it's amazing. Can you share with us a bit about your origin story, how you came about being a copywriter, how you found this niche with interior designers, like what sparked all that and how did this come to be?
Yeah, so I come from the corporate Canada. It's basically, I've had over close to 2 decades of experience working in marketing in corporate Canada, working for the big corporate companies like KPMG, Deloitte, big accounting firms. Nothing excited, but I was doing marketing as part of that. And so in 2019, writing was always a part of that world, just in a variety of marketing roles. But in 2019, I just decided to go out on my own, start my business. And that's how Content Vertical, my copywriting agency, was born. And in that first year, I was getting a ton of advice from everybody, like I'm sure your listeners are. Like, well, you got to niche down, the riches and the niches. I'm like, okay, I have to pick a niche. And then I just I didn't know where to start. So I just started looking at everything I've done in that first year, all the copywriting jobs that came in, all the industries I've written for, and different services. And this one particular project just stood out. And it happened to be one of my first website copywriting projects for an interior designer. And I just thought back, I'm like, okay, what kind of writing do I enjoy the most? And it just happened to be an interior design one. I just loved getting to know the interior designer's story, kind of finding a way to tell her story, getting to know her clients. Of course, at that time, I didn't really have any type of process.
Yeah.
A lot of it was very intuitive, but I just realized this is the kind of writing I enjoy, and interior designers seem to resonate with a creative storytelling type of writing. And I'm like, okay, let's go all in.
Oh my gosh, I love that you found this niche right away. That's pretty amazing.
Yeah, and only a year into it. I think it takes years sometimes.
Yeah. And then you were really intentional from the beginning before this whole pandemic thing. So you were already sort of in that vibe of like, what do I want to do that's meaningful and purposeful?
Absolutely. Yeah. I always actually start my story with pre-COVID. Everything happened pre-COVID because I just meet so many people in the last few years, and typically they start their business during COVID. But yeah, with me, I got fed up with corporate in 2019.
Wow. Yeah. Amazing. And you spoke a little bit about not having processes in the beginning and that you were very intuitive about that. Can you share a little bit about how you let your intuition sort of guide you and help you discover your process?
I think it came naturally to me because even in university, I had creative copywriting courses, and one of my majors was professional writing. So I knew writing was a strong skill that I had, but I just did it intuitively, obviously with some education and some schooling in that arena. But it came naturally to me. But shortly after, I just realized that I do need a solid process in order to back up with some solid proof or something that, something that truly works and resonates. Intuition can only take you so far. Although I have to say that I do rely a lot on my intuition in my work and decision making. It happens to work. But shortly after, I started developing processes, just because when you're trying to scale and grow, it's so important to have a solid foundation. And when you have processes and systems, and maybe it's your signature process, or maybe it's just kind of the back end of your business, it just makes things easier to function, to operate your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I just love that you had brought in this intuition piece because with our design group, we focus a monthly meeting on developing our intuition, on connecting to that piece of us, because I feel like it's so important when you're driving a business. And also the other part of having processes and procedures. So we also have that too, to balance the two sides, and they definitely go hand in hand. So it was neat to see that you also kind of use that to guide your business.
Oh, like I said, I still rely on it quite heavily, sometimes even more than logic. And it hasn't been, it has worked so far so good. So far, I've been able to rely on that, and it hasn't proven me wrong.
Amazing. Can you share a little bit about how you collaborate with designers? Like, what does that look like when somebody wants to engage with you?
Of course. So I write website copy for interior designers. So typically they come to me from either already securing a website designer, and the website designer, send me the copy. And the client is like, oh, okay, that's usually on the back burner, or they're the bottleneck in that project. So that's where I come in. I do messaging strategy and copywriting for interior designers. And I have a signature framework that I developed to work with interior designers, because I've been working with them for the last 5 years. I've been able to kind of really understand their pain points, really understand what do they need to connect to their audience. And my process, it's a ton of research. And then the main component of that process is client interviews. So basically I take 5 of your clients, of your past clients, your most successful projects maybe, or maybe the clients that really represent that ideal audience of yours, and I interview them. And between you and I, it is interviews, but with clients I usually position them as just informal chats, just to kind of, for them not to be intimidated, and to to relax, to open up. And those client interviews is like copy gold, because that's where not only I'm getting customer testimonials, like the richest one, the very emotional ones, but I'm also getting to know their pain points, their aspirations. How do they make decisions? What's, who were they considering before hiring you as an interior designer? What went into that decision-making process? So much gets uncovered during those client interviews. And then I take those insights, and basically after doing the competitive analysis and all the background work on you and capturing your voice, that's when I write copy that truly speaks to your ideal audience, because I've had a chance to interview your ideal audience, and I know what language resonates with them, what ideas resonate, what type of hesitations they have. So I address all of that in their website copy.
I love it. It's amazing.
Yeah.
And I think so many people or other designers might not realize that when you are going through a rebrand or having a website design, that a lot of times that website designer isn't going to write your copy. You've got to bring that to the table.
This was an interesting kind of learning experience. A lot of clients tend to think, actually, sometimes they mistake me for a web designer, and they come to me and they ask me, like, so you're going to do the whole website? I'm like, no, just the copy part. So I'm very, very lucky to have, a network of designers that sometimes they are, only exclusive to the interior design community. And other times they serve other industries. But and we now have this network. We now have this relationship where they know, sometimes they're the starting point. Oftentimes I am the starting point. Not always. But designers simply, they just don't know what they don't know. Yeah. So.
Yeah, but that's for sure. And I think it's an eye opener when it's like, wait, wait a minute. What do you mean? I have to write the stuff? Like,
what do you mean by copy? What? Well, the words that they're going to actually fill your interior design shell, interior design website shell.
Yeah, for sure. Which is great that we've got you that really specialize in that space. So since you see a ton of websites, you dive in with designers all the time, I would love to just spend some time to talk about the most common mistakes interior designers make on their website, if you're willing to dish some of those things, so that we can kind of put some things into action before our workshop and before maybe engaging with you, giving them some tangible action points.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. It's actually one of my favorite topics. And because it's not just mistakes. Sometimes I reframe it as kind of opportunities. We can always make our websites and messaging a little stronger. So where I want to start, I think I'm going to go with like 7 mistakes, the biggest mistakes that I see. And the first one, I think this is the biggest one, is attempting to appeal to every possible visitor on your website. It's that saying, when you speak to everybody or everyone, you speak to no one. Because what ends up happening is that the impact of your messaging is diluted. The result is just generic copy that just fails to resonate with your ideal audience. So it's critical. It goes back to why I do research as part of my projects, because I'm getting to know your audience. So the solution for you would be to really, truly get to know your audience, and not just like topical stuff or surfacey stuff like demographics, income and things like that, but what's motivating them? What are some of the pain points they're truly feeling and experiencing? What are some of their aspirations? What are their wants, needs? How do they feel about their home? What do they want? What do they need? So those things are very critical, and which is why, like I said, what the big component of my process is those client interviews, where I really kind of peel that onion and try to get to know the audience from start to finish. So like I said, spend some time defining your ideal client profile. And I know a lot of experts share that advice. It's no surprise that anytime you're hiring a brand strategist or a web designer or a graphic designer, whoever, that's where they typically start. Let's create that client avatar. And so that's why, because it's so important, because from there, it has like a ripple effect. When you know your audience, you can use the language, you can use the insights that actually resonate with them. So that's the number one thing, when your copy actually speaks to that one single group, because that's what you want to do. You want your website copy to speak to that one single group and not to everyone. I think there's a fear with that too. It's also a mindset shift, because it's, well, what if I kind of single out here, but then deter the other people. That's what you want to do, actually.
Yeah.
You want to deter the wrong
thing.
clients. Yeah, it is a good thing. You want to speak to that one ideal client and kind of deter all the other people.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay, so what's number 2?
All right, so the number 2 is neglecting copy above the fold. And that's what you see typically when you land on somebody's website. And oftentimes, because I work with interior designers, I often see either just an image and no copy, no headline, or maybe like a generic headline. Or so the thing about your above the fold, it's where people land. It sets the context, it sets the mood, it sets everything. And when you don't have that one headline, it doesn't have to be long, by the way. It can just be a simple headline that really truly speaks to your brand and speaks to your audience. Going back to that first point, the goal of your headline really is to move your user, to move your website visitor just one step down. All you want them to do is just to scroll down. There is no need to sell them on your services, to sell them on your brand. All you want is that one small commitment to make them curious enough to scroll down, to continue learning about your brand, about how you work, the services you deliver. So it's not a huge job, but it's an extremely important one. So when I go to people's websites and I don't see a headline, yes, your work speaks for itself. It's beautiful work. But visuals and words work in tandem always. They have to help each other out to sell on you.
Yeah, and I would love for you to share a little bit about the above the fold, because I recently just found out what this meant and where it came from with newspapers. So can you share, just to give the designers, what does this mean, above the fold?
Of course. So above the fold, it's pretty much the landing page. So on your homepage, when people land on your website, the very first part, the very kind of the upper part of your website, right before they need to scroll, regardless of the screen size, that's the above the fold. I know it has origins in the newspapers, in the newspaper business, but today with computers, with mobile phones, that's what it means. You want to make sure you're above the fold. Oftentimes, we also call it in the copywriting world the hero section, or above the fold, same thing. It needs to capture somebody's attention. It needs to arouse curiosity. It needs to communicate the idea. Oftentimes, it communicates the problem that your ideal audience is experiencing, or it communicates the transformation that you help somebody create, or it simply arouses curiosity. It makes them curious enough to scroll down, to browse your website, to click on different pages. So your headline, along with the image, needs to kind of compel people to take that next step.
Absolutely.
And that's what it really is.
Yeah, I love it. And it's like, if you can, and we're designers, so we're very visual. So it's like, if you think of a newspaper, all that stuff above the fold of the newspaper is what we're talking about. And that's where the origin comes from.
Exactly.
Which is so cool.
Think of it kind of like, for interior designers, it's kind of like when you design the entry to a home.
Yeah.
You know, you want that to make the first impression, or maybe the curb appeal. But I feel like that's going to set the scene for somebody to enter your home. It's like, oh, okay. You know, all of a sudden you're feeling this vibe. You're feeling curious enough to continue your journey through the home. So that's what it is. It's kind of like the entry to the home is the above the fold for the website.
Amazing. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. Number 3.
All right. Number 3 is failing to build trust. So that goes back to your website messaging has to signal trust to somebody entering your website, to a website visitor. And things that signal trust are customer testimonials, because those are case studies. Those are real people that have worked with you, and they are incredible as social proof. They are incredible at helping you build trust with your ideal audience. Things like awards, certifications, publication features. You know how you often go to the interior design websites and you see that banner with, featured in, appeared on.
Yeah.
You know, those work, that little banner with those logos is magic, pure magic. So I always recommend having social proof banner right below the fold, or even right under the headline, because that's where you're setting the scene, and you're immediately, as soon as the website visitor lands on your website, you're immediately flagging trust. Yes, you can trust them, you can trust me because look, these other people trusted me, and a customer testimonial often speaks to often brings a point on like why you need to trust this person, whether it's the way she works or the way she, the customer experience or something else in that customer testimonial. So do not forget to build trust on your website. That's one of the biggest mistakes, because most people have customer testimonials, and that's probably the easiest thing to just I call it like strategically sprinkle across your website, because I truly believe they should be on every core page of your website.
So good.
So that's number 3. All right. So number 4 is failing to differentiate. And that's simply as, if you're not differentiating, you're blending in. So not highlighting your unique value proposition. And I know there's so much terminology for this, secret sauce, differentiator, X factor, UVP, USP, unique selling proposition. But it simply means, what is it? What is that value that you bring to the table? What sets you apart from other interior designers? And I always bring that example. Imagine if, I understand that most interior design clients may come to you from word of mouth or from referral partners. Still, those people, they need to validate whatever they heard from the referral source, from their friend, from their colleague, whoever. Right. So they're going to go and check out your website. And imagine if they had 100 tabs open on their screen, because we do. You don't have undivided attention of your prospects. So imagine if there's 100 tabs open. Will your landing page, will your homepage stand out? Will there be something that'll hook them? Or is your messaging so generic that it's just going to be, well, I'm not really sure who that is. Yeah. So you want your unique value proposition to be memorable, to really resonate and emotionally connect to whatever your ideal client is experiencing. So it's absolutely critical to differentiate yourself.
Amazing. I love it. All right, number 5.
All right. Number 5 is ignoring potential objections and hesitations. So, So that's an interesting one, because I feel like this is the question that I often ask my clients. I'm like, what's the common objection? And most designers will say, well, it's the money, it's the investment. But that is not true. That's not the only objection that your potential customers may have. Your website messaging has to not only address people's questions, but it also needs to anticipate those questions. So you want to, and that goes back to knowing your audience so well that you know what kind of objections they may have. What type of questions do they ask you during the discovery call? So make sure to keep track of them, because these are the questions that they're thinking about. So typical, some common objections beside the money thing is, what if I don't like the design? How do revisions happen? Do you have renderings? Do I have to be involved? How involved? How collaborative your projects are? What does the process look like? These are the real questions that your clients, your prospects are thinking in their head as they're reviewing your messaging, as they're looking. Even if they're not thinking that, the fact that your copy addresses those things, it shows transparency. It shows that you know them, you hear them, you understand them. And that's a critical part of your website messaging, to make sure that your audience, your ideal audience, feels heard, understood, and seen through your website messaging.
Absolutely. And are you envisioning this as like a FAQ page, or what does this look like?
Could be an FAQ. Yeah, absolutely. It could be an FAQ page. It could be an FAQ section on just one of the services pages, but it could also be on your process services pages, right as you're outlining your process, because it's so critical for interior designers to outline their process, because oftentimes it's not as simple as 1, 2, 3. You want to make sure you're outlining your process and actually showcasing to your prospects, the detail. I'm not saying go into every minutia, into every detail of your process, but make them understand that you've got this comprehensive process. You are a pro, and through that copy, in those steps, that's how you can also communicate those pain points and handle those objections.
Absolutely. Yeah. And all those discovery calls that I know all these designers are making, take note of these questions that keep popping up. And you're just going to offer this beautiful space of security and trust, and them knowing, what their fears are, and that you can be that guide to take them to the next level.
Yeah, I would even suggest have like a Google sheet open, like a bank of ideas, bank of
Yeah.
objections, and jot them down, because you not only during the discovery calls people are asking those questions, even throughout your project you're getting texts, you're getting phone calls oftentimes about specific steps in the process. Those questions are amazing. If one person is having those questions, I guarantee
Oh,
you
yeah.
your other clients are thinking those exact same things. So, and the whole idea of website copy, like I said in the beginning, it's not only to address them, but to proactively actually anticipate them. So,
Absolutely. And I
yeah.
think with that too, I think they'll also get to know that you're like that when they work with you, that you're always anticipating the next thing. So it's not like the contractor's
One step
waiting on
ahead.
you. Yeah, you're one step ahead, you're 5 steps ahead. You know what's coming, you know what is going to be needed, so that they're not feeling that stress and pressure last minute when someone's asking for the paint color because we're painting right now and the painter is at the plate. It's like, oh my God. And then, that's when this stress and pressure comes in, and they're like, why did you
want to
alleviate
that?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it. All right, number 6.
Okay, number 6 is missing the personal touch. So as humans, we crave connection. We make decisions, just like I said in the beginning, we make decisions based on our emotions. At least I do, and I know a lot of people do too, not just based on logic, but on our emotions. So it's so important to make your website visitors feel something. And including something personal on your website. You don't have to go and talk about your family and your pets and all of those things, but just creating that small connection, giving your audience something to resonate with, because at the end of the day, we're in business of human to human. So there's somebody on the end of that screen that needs to resonate with what you are, and you never know what's going to resonate with people. I've heard stories where interior designers talking about their divorce or something hardship or something else. And it's incredible that sometimes you find that understanding with your audience through these personal stories, personal anecdotes, just kind of letting your audience a little bit into your life, because at the end of the day, they're not hiring your brand, they're hiring you as an interior designer. And that humanizes your brand.
Yeah, absolutely. And I find that also when I'm just speaking with like potential clients or potential people afterward, they'll always tell me like, oh, the reason why I hired you, or one of the reasons, is because I wanted to be your friend. I wanted to hang out with you. I wanted this to be a fun process. Like I thought, you'd be a good guide, and I like just hanging out with you and your energy. And I know I'm going to spend all this time with you. So it's really important, to build
It's so true, because
partnership.
Yeah. You know what? I make those even hiring decisions, and when I hire an expert to do something, oftentimes it's not because they're, I don't know, the most incredible and talented expert in something. It's the vibe that I'm feeling. It's that connection, the chemistry, or something that really resonated. And that's how I hire. And oftentimes through those client stories, when I do chat with interior designers clients, I hear the exact same stories, because I'm kind of there trying to understand, well, why did you hire my client? Why did you hire the interior designer? And I'm hearing the most amazing thing. Oh, it's just because she's so nice and personable. I was like, no, like I want to hear about the process. I want to hear about the service. Like, no, it was just she made it so much fun. We went there, we went tile shopping, this, that. She made me feel, she knew, I don't know, birthdays of my kids, my pets, everything. It's incredible. But at the end of the day, it's all about that connection that you have with your audience, with your clients.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. All right. We're at the last one, number 7.
All right. The last one is weak or vague call to action, or actually even no call to action, because I go to interior design websites and I literally look through hundreds of them every month. And oftentimes I would see a page or a few pages just without any call to action. And think of it as like you're inviting somebody into your home, you're hosting a party, and they're walking in and they have no idea where to go. There's nothing, nobody's taking their coat, nobody's telling them when drinks are going to be served. Nobody's telling them when dinner is going to be served. You need to let your people know where to go next. You absolutely need that call to action, that what step do you want me to take next? You are the guide of your website. What step do you want your website visitors to take next? So that's where addressing the no call to action. But oftentimes there is very vague calls to action, something like click here, let's chat, reach out, start your project. Yes, in the right context, that button might be great, but it's not the most compelling one to click on, because you really want to encourage the next step. So you want, so here, I'm gonna give you a couple of examples of some good ones.
Okay, cool. Love it.
Because the one thing that you do want to remember, the call to action is not just the button that you want people to click on, but it's also that line or a couple of lines just above the button to kind of to compel them to take that next step. So something like, schedule your design consultation, ready to transform your home, book a personal consultation with our design experts today, and take the next step towards creating your dream space. And then the button. Yeah. Or something like, discover your home's potential. Let's create a space tailored to you and your family. Book your consultation. That's just literally 1 or 2 lines before the call to action, but it just compels you a bit more to take that next step. So definitely include a call to action.
Amazing. We'll have to do a little something where it's like, everyone share your call to action, and a little workshop.
I know, that'll be fun, actually.
I love it. And speaking of workshops, can you give us a little teaser on what we can expect? So we've got a beautiful workshop with you, with our pro members on the 28th of February. It's happening at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time virtually. So anyone and everyone can join. You just have to be a pro member. And so can you give us a little bit of what we can expect in our workshop?
Of course. So the topic is building an emotional connection with your audience. And that's such an impactful topic, because creating that emotional connection is absolutely everything. You need emotional connection in website messaging is crucial, because it takes your website visitor interaction from just simply transactional to a whole experience, that truly connects you to a meaningful experience. So there are a couple of ways that you can create that connection, and we're going to cover that in the workshop, but I'm just going to give you a couple of bullet points. So by resonating with prospects on an emotional level, your website can foster trust, build loyalty, encourage engagement, and connect with the brand more deeply. So a few ways that I will be sharing during the workshop is, for example, how to tell a compelling story, because we know that when you have a storytelling through your web, stories sell, facts sell, but stories sell. So definitely having that storytelling embedded in your story works. So I'll share a couple of tips there. Using authentic language, because authenticity is everything. We definitely want to use authentic and warm language. Showing personality, and that goes back to what I shared earlier, and that's not doing that, missing that personal touch. So I'll share a couple of tips on how to do that, and really humanizing your brand, and expressing empathy, understanding, so your audience feels heard, understood, and seen. So these are just a couple of tips.
I'm so excited. It's going to be fantastic.
Me too. Yes. I love that.
Yeah, we haven't had a workshop like this yet with the Design Coven, so I think it's going to be very, very valuable. And if you can't make it live, it will be recorded, so you can definitely watch it on your own time. And then, of course, with the pro membership, we do have the secret podcast that'll be in there as podcast form, so you can listen as you're driving and doing all the other things that you're doing in your business. Well, I would love to know if there's anything happening with your business in the future, things coming up. Is there anything that you want to share with us as far as connecting with you and all of those good things?
Yeah, of course. So I actually just launched my own podcast, which is so exciting. So it literally just happened, and a couple of weeks ago. So it's called Marketing for Designers.
Oh my gosh. Okay.
It's literally all marketing, because I felt that there's so many podcasts out there, and I'm so excited because honestly, it's through podcasts for interior designers that I was able to learn more about the pain points that interior designers are feeling, and what it is that they want when it comes to branding and marketing. So I was very fortunate that I have a whole bunch of podcasts that usually on my roster, And I felt that because I have this huge network of marketers surrounding me, I'm like, why not bring those marketing experts, SEO people, graphic designers, branding strategists, and have those meaningful conversations, how to help interior designers grow their business and, do the right things when it comes to marketing, because a lot of interior designers and, who are we joking? Like a lot of service providers are just confused and they're bombarded with, well, you got to do this and you got to do that. So I just wanted to have those conversations surrounding, marketing, bringing the marketing and messaging tips. So so the new podcast is Marketing for Designers. So I would love if your listeners
everyone
can
follow.
Absolutely.
And we'll put the link in the show notes for sure. Are you going to be doing solo episodes, guest episodes, a little bit of both?
Great question. So it's actually going to be 3 types of episodes. There's going to be some solo ones when I'm just sharing kind of what we're doing today, because, that's what I do for my day job. And then there's going to be talking to experts like myself, but in those areas like SEO and branding and all those things. And then the 3rd type of episodes, which is actually an interesting one, it's actually speaking with interior designers who really have a strong marketing game and kind of just lifting under their hood and seeing, well, what do they do that really works? What are some of the things that they tried but didn't work? So I already had one conversation with a designer and that was awesome. So really excited to have more of those.
Absolutely. I'm super stoked and excited about this. And then are they weekly episodes, or how often do they?
Yes. So yes, definitely hoping that there's going to be every Wednesday. So tomorrow is actually the second. Yes. Every Wednesday there's a new episode that's coming out. Perfect. Hopefully I'll be able to keep up with that. Yes. There's a lot of pressure, but yes. So tomorrow is actually my second episode is launching, and that's with an interior designer who is talking about all things like Instagram and stories and showing up and visibility and all of those exciting things.
Oh, so good. So good. Yeah. Thank you. What else do you got going on?
So that's it as far as any kind of new events or anything new that's happening. But you can definitely find me on my Instagram, and that's masha.copywriter, and we can link in the show notes. And there I show up religiously every single day, sharing advice and tips and just kind of being a lot more visible, because copywriters are typically hiding behind their screens. So I show, I know interior designers feel the same way. But so you can find me on Instagram, masha.copywriter, or you can go to my website, contentvertical.com, and down below at the very bottom, that's where I have my newsletter sign up. So every Friday I send a weekly tip, like a small bite-sized messaging or marketing tip, very actionable that you can implement today and see some positive changes on your website. Or, like I said, in my podcast, Marketing for Designers.
Absolutely. Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on. And before we let you go, do you have any practices or things that you do to keep you grounded, centered, present, mindful, any of those things?
You know what? It's not a consistent one, but I do journal when I am facing something or feeling something or experiencing something. And I've noticed every time I do journal and kind of investigate whatever that I'm going through writing, it helps me. I have either a better day or I gain clarity. And I feel like getting clarity it's huge. Like the most amazing thing. It's huge. So journaling. I wish I was doing it a lot more consistent, but for now I do it as I'm experiencing something.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah. I love it. Well, thank you so much for showing up for us today. Can't wait for the workshop. Can't wait for the podcast. I'm going to be listening for sure. So just huge thank you, and everything that you're doing for our design community. We really appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much, Rachel.
You've been listening to the Holistic Interior Design Podcast. If it's one that you have been enjoying, please share with anyone else that you think can benefit from this knowledge, and leave us a 5-star review. That helps us get seen and found by other new and aspiring interior designers. And if you're looking for mentorship, I invite you to join our club here at the Design Coven. It's a bridge between school and real life interior design. We get in much deeper there. We have virtual and in-person event. So everyone is welcome. You don't need to have a design degree to be part of it, just an interest in holistic interior design. I also want to thank our editor, Marcy Ferry, and lastly, Kinseth Thibodeau, who is our music composer. Until next time, be well, and we will see each other soon.